Hello, and welcome to Gardener's World. Spring is creeping closer, and signs of new life are emerging in our gardens, giving us a tantalising glimpse of what is to come.
Good boy, you're going to come and help me? You're going to come and help me? Are you? Oh, are you? Yes, you do that, yes. Good boy.
But gardening offers more than just beauty. It creates a vital connection to nature and, importantly, to each other. So for the next hour, we're going to celebrate those who sow, grow and share their love of gardening by looking back at some of our recent seasonal highlights. Coming up on today's programme, Toby visits a neighbourhood in Liverpool, transformed by the power of plants.
Well, this is extraordinary. It's like the Amazon jungle in an alley. It certainly is.
We visit a London allotment where the skyline is very recognisable, but the vegetables are a bit more unfamiliar.
The big botty one, that's sharp fin melon. The winter melon we tend to put in soup, and the bitter melon we stir fry or we stuff it with meat.
Joe visits a community food growing project in Bristol.
Oh, you must be Alison.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Well,
Where's
I'm
that
just
one
a delivery man.
You've
I
done
have
really
not
well.
grown a thing.
And I'll be planting up some pots so they're in shade that will give me a really good summer display.
Showing children where food comes from and how to cook it is so important. And one crop that's easy to grow, whatever space you have, is strawberries.
I took some runners from the strawberries that I'm growing in this trough, and I put them into pots. Now, the reason I'm not lifting that up is because it's attached to the mother plant. And now that it's growing, it should have its own roots and won't need that attachment. So if I just cut this now like that, and then that like that, I've now got a separate strawberry plant. Now, I'm assuming that it's got roots of its own, so this is a little bit of a moment. These are the homemade staples that I pinned it down with, and yes, we've got roots, I can tell. There we go, look at that, lovely. So we've made ourselves a new strawberry plant. Now, I'd intended to fill the gaps in this trough, and 6 weeks ago there were gaps to be filled, but you can see now they fill themselves. The runners have taken naturally, they've rooted, and there's no room. However, this will grow beautifully in a pot. And of course, the advantage of that is strawberries in a pot can be grown on a roof, on a balcony, on a patio, or even on a windowsill. So if that goes there, I shall get two more there, and they will spill over the edge and look really good as well as tasting good.
Now, I suspect that we all have a traditional idea of allotments and what they should look like. But the truth is that they are changing. And we went to one in southeast London filled with a truly diverse range of produce.
Here is really, really nice, really beautiful. And I'm on top of the hill. This is in Dulwich as well. It's very hard to get a plot, in this beautiful place. I love it, It's made me feel very proud, very happy, actually. I still ring up my dad and go, how'd you grow this? How'd you grow your watercress? I'm still learning, I'm still experimenting. Hello, my name's Helen too. This is my Asian garden. I grow all sorts of Chinese vegetable, English vegetable, all sorts. And I have the best view. And I absolutely love it up here. I think we waited over 7 years for this plot. The queue in London is so long. It's basically for my mother-in-law I thought maybe a way for her to exercise. We've done everything ourselves, really. My mother-in-law, she's very strong. She does a lot of the digging. I want to grow anything and everything. I copy my dad. Every time I go up to his house, I will get some idea of him, really. Because it's such a small space, so I grow everything upwards. The big spotty one, that's shark fin melon. It's the first time I managed to achieve growing so many in one go. This is sweet potato, which I've grown so it trails up. That's a chow chow. You can eat the vine, the tips where it's tender, or you wait for the fruits and you eat the fruits. This is winter melon. Donghua, the Chinese people call it. The winter melon we tend to put in soup, and the bitter melon we stir fry or we stuff it with meat. Doodie, or bottle gourd it's called, we just stir fry with dry shrimp. This is a cucumber melon. It's very crunchy. It's got a bit of tang to it. We got this allotment 2 years ago. Basically, it's very, very bare. It's just grass, so we have to dig it up and put raised bed in. The only problem with this area is clay soil, which is very, very hard to grow. So we have put loads and loads of compost in here. We try to grow a lot of things in containers, and that grow a lot better. This is turmeric, yellow ginger. This is sand ginger. You mix it with the salt and then use it as a rub for chicken. This is Vietnamese mint. You can use this for pickling vegetables, a salad. Papaya salad is very nice with this. Sesame leaves. You know what sesame leaves is? It's basically the herbs that you put in a summer roll, or the Japanese people, they like to eat like sashimi with it. I got Chinese celery, Japanese pumpkin, which I just harvested. We were the boat people from Vietnam. From Vietnam, we went to China to Hong Kong, and then Hong Kong to England. I was very young then, so for me, it's like an adventure. But for the adults, yes, it's very, very scary. When we first come, they like to grow their veg, because in the UK, you cannot buy a lot of Chinese veg previously, but now you can. I don't want to throw anything away. The bitter gourd I grew over there last year, so it didn't do very well, so I moved it and I tried another way of growing it, like in a raised bed with plastic recyclable bottles over it, so it gives a bit of like a greenhouse effect. And it's doing a lot better. It's giving me fruits this year. The recycle, these are all given to me by the butcher. They use the tub for olives and they throw away, so it's, you know, good use. The water bottles, I use that instead of throwing away. The container I picked up from like pallet wood, so I picked it up and just turned it into containers. The thing I'm most proud of, my morning glory and the sweet basil is coming up really nicely. You didn't think you can grow sweet basil in the UK. I'm still learning. I still ask, see that couple down there? That they have the perfect plot, I think. You notice that everything's immaculate. I asked her how to grow tomatoes, because I've never managed to grow tomatoes.
Oh, you there?
Oh,
Wow, we're a big one now.
Pumpkin.
wow.
One's still growing.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of my top tips is soaking banana skin in water to make fertilizer, and I use that for the gourd. It's supposed to produce abundance of fruits. You don't realise you're in London, do you know what I mean? You're up here, you're in the countryside. When the sun sets, it's just so amazing. When I come here, I'm like carefree, you know, I'm not stressed, I'm not, you know, I'm here. Literally time just go by and I enjoy it after if you get to fruit like one bitter melon, I'm so happy. Yeah, and I've got a few gourds, yeah, I'm like over the moon.
I confess that I hadn't even heard of some of those vegetables, let alone grown them. But one thing I did try growing for the first time last spring was ranunculus.
Last year we paid a visit to West in Chichester, where they have been growing ranunculus. And I thought they were amazing. I've never grown them before, so I thought I'd try some. Planted them in pots last autumn, kept them over winter in the greenhouse, put them in the cold frame this spring, and now we have reasonable sized plants. Now there are two things about growing ranunculus that you need to know. The first is that they're tender. They will not take frost, so they need protection. And the second is they need really good drainage to thrive. Now both those are a problem here at Longmeadow. So I'm planting them into pots, and I will put these pots into the dual garden when the frost has passed, round about mid-May. Now, a crock in the bottom, and I've got our normal potting compost mix here, which is coir based with some perlite added, but I'm going to add plenty of grit. 3 scoops is not too much. Mix it up well. And you can see it's about 50% grit. So put a layer of that in the bottom of the pot. And now we've got the plants. This is a variety called Viola, which is a lovely, rich, sort of purpley colour. If you're planting them outside, and if you've got sandy or chalky soil, they'll grow perfectly happily outside as long as they're protected from frost. Then they should be spaced about a foot or so apart. But I think I could get 3 in this pot, much closer in a pot, like that, and then we will fill in around them. Right, shake that down. I'll water that and put it back in the cold frame, let them grow on, and then harden them off and put them into the dual garden in May, when I can be confident that they will cope with whatever our weather has to offer.
It's time for one of your films now. And this one is a community garden with a bit of a difference.
Welcome to Westfield Station Garden, Suffolk. I'm Sandy and this is Yvonne. And we are station adopters through the Greater Anglia Adopt Station scheme. And in 2019, I first took on this unused piece of land, and we have created gardens. I saw an ad in the newspaper advertising adopting a station. So I thought it was the perfect opportunity to give back to the community and also create something visual for the passengers using the train, and also benefiting the bees and the insects. The Nepeta is a real magnet for the bees. Even on this cool grey day, it's buzzing.
Many of the features in the garden are all about reusing and recycling. And this example, the dead hedge, is something we developed really to use up all the old twigs. We're using perennials for the tubs that we kind of dig up every winter and then reuse in the summer season, saving on the bedding plants. Hi! Hi! Thanks for watching us.
Spring is the time to make an investment in colour for later in the year. Regardless of how much sun or shade you get in your garden.
This area is actually a very nice place to sit, but it's in shade for half the day in summer, and in winter the whole time. And so you do need plants that will adapt and relish those kind of conditions. This is a hydrangea. It's Hydrangea quercifolia munchkin. It's got white flowers in a cone, and critically, it's very happy in part shade. Now, like all hydrangeas, this likes lots of moisture, but also good drainage. You want to add to your compost some leaf mould, maybe some soil improver, so you want a nice fluffy soil. That's perfect. A bit of grit and some perlite, if you've got it, to open it out, that will make them happy. If you've got a large pot like this, put some crocks in the bottom, and if you can, raise it up so it's not sitting in water. Okay. You gonna help? You want to leave about an inch of space at the top for water. Okie dokie. That's about the height I want to plant it. Now this will grow about 1.5 meters, 1 meter tall. So we have a really strong display against the lovely brickwork behind it. I'll do the other one now. There. I think these are great. I like the proportions. I'm really excited at the thought of them being in flower either side of this seat. And the view is fantastic, and it's a good place to sit.
When it comes to growing in pots, we visited a houseplant lover who had found the perfect space to experiment.
I've lived here at Clapton Tram for the last 7 years now. This is my home as well as my business, and it's also a design studio for me. So it has many hats, and it's a great space to live. Hello, my name's John Bassam, and I live in this historic tram depot in East London with my border collie called Jack. I was looking for a big, light, airy space where I could have some large specimens of plants. The light's amazing here. Having the double height space and all the daylight coming in the skylights, it just works so well with plants. It was originally a horse-drawn tram depot in the 1830s, and this was actually one of the stables for the horses. And each one of these units held 22 horses. It's quite beautiful because you can see the natural erosion on the floor of where the horse's hooves kind of dug in. And I love that about the space. And having the concrete floor means I can just water everything and mop it up afterwards. Release the hound. The watering schedule is on a Sunday. And I just revisit each plant and just go around. And I'm going up and down ladders, and I'm carrying water, and I've got a spinning border collie below me, so it's quite a kind of focused act. I try to mimic nature with plants. It's quite important to have all the trailing plants at different heights, just to add a bit of interest and give a meander to the eye. I wanted to have that foreground, that middle distance, and that background with a layering of plants. With the monsteras, I hang them quite high, and it's quite beautiful to see how the aerial roots come down. And it's amazing how once we reach the floor, they just stop. I bought this fishbone cactus 5-6 years ago now, and it's a really good sized specimen. Every October, it completely is covered in the most amazing transient flowers, which only last around 12 hours, but it will flower for all of October. And the scent is absolutely divine. The Tradescantia is known as the inch plant because it just grows so rapidly. So, I mean, in the summer, they grow really, really rapidly. The spider plants I will group just because they look a bit more kind of dramatic. If you're going to use this many plants in a space, it can't all be individual plants. You need to have a few kind of repeating pieces. This oxalis is one of my favourite plants. If I'm up early enough, I will see that the leaves are all closed, and it's like a butterfly, how it opens up with the sun. So it's quite a beautiful plant. It's very responsive to its environment. The begonia maculata, which people absolutely love, the spotted begonia, and I've just dotted it all around. So rather than having one plant in one pot, I've done underplanting. So there'll be a monstera with a begonia and a few kind of trailing plants below it. If I have a plant in a pot and there's still some spare soil around the bottom, I put a lot of mind your own business in there. Some people call it a pest, but if you grow it in a container, it's relatively controlled. It helps cover the brown soil at the bottom, and it stops the water evaporating off the soil. One of the biggest problems with plants is keeping the kind of water levels within the soil. So if you have a very small hanging plant and the wind's blowing around it, it could dry out within a day or two. So the larger the plant container, the easier it is to control the water levels within the soil. Finding nice plant pots can be quite tricky. There are lots of lovely glazed pots available on the market, but they can be quite expensive. And all of the pots which I use are just terracotta pots with a bit of emulsion on. I'm by no means a plant expert. I don't have any particularly kind of like rare, expensive plants. Some of my plants are actually found at Columbia Road Flower Market, where once everyone's leaving, there's lots of cuttings just dotted around on the floor. For table centerpieces, I will do cuttings rather than flowers. I've got some begonia maculata here, which I'm putting into these tall vintage vases. And I'm just going to combine it with a bit of a purple tradescantia just to add a bit of interesting colour. At the end of my dinner, I let my guests take the cuttings, so they're leaving with a little gift as well. When I first started doing cuttings, I wanted to make more of a feature of them because I found the root structures so beautiful. So I found some lovely wall kind of corbels and some nice specimen test tube vases just to create more of a feature of the propagation system. I think reconnecting to nature is such an important thing, and finally people seem to be embracing it. So many people live in a city now, so having that element of the countryside within an urban environment is so important. I mean, I couldn't imagine any other way than waking up. I love waking up in my bedroom and having the view onto the space. I don't know how I'd cope with London without it.
Come on, good boy.
Still to come on today's programme. Joe visits an extraordinary community food growing project.
Whatever the size of your plot, the satisfaction of planting something, nurturing it, and then eating it is huge.
And we remember the first time we met the gardening sisters, Becky, Kirsty and Mandy from Dorset.
We're making sweet corn and pumpkin.
But first we're off to Toxteth in Liverpool. Toby was there last year, visiting a community who had regenerated their streets through collective gardening.
Liverpool, like many cities across the UK, is built up of a collection of suburbs, each with their own character and quirks, and the best of them bonded together by a strong sense of community. But right here, in an area known as Granby Four Streets, that sense of togetherness has created something extraordinary. After World War II, Granby became a richly diverse community full of music, shops and life. But major social and economic change in the city during the 70s and 80s led the area into a decline, leaving many homes empty and at risk of demolition. It came to the point where only 4 of the streets remained and only a small number of the houses were actually lived in. And to preserve what was left, the residents decided to take action. And what better way to do that than start gardening? A group of residents started to plant in and around the derelict properties and also paint up the facades that boarded up the houses, bringing life and colour to the streets. They formed a volunteer group in order to protect the area of Granby. Hazel Tilley has lived here for 30 years and is part of that collection of community champions. Hey, Hazel.
Hi, Toby. Pleased to meet you.
Oh, thanks for having me. You were an advocate for this area for such a long time.
Yeah.
When was gardening introduced to the fight?
I would say about 16, 17 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. We started cleaning up and then putting plants where we'd cleaned up. It was a way of saying we value the streets that we live in.
Yeah.
It was changing the environment so it wasn't so unpleasant to walk past.
What were the first plants that went in there?
Broad beans.
Broad beans?
Broad beans, yes. All along the railings, they had something to climb up. You just poked them into the soil that was there and hey presto, off they went.
You've not only grown the street and the plants, you've also grown pride in the area.
Absolutely, it's beautiful. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to live. I love living here. I love the variety of cultures, the diversity of people, the different knowledge and information that is brought. I like to come out into the street and to feel and smell and to hear the noises that nature makes.
So after all these years, would you call yourself a gardener?
I'd like to be a gardener. I don't think I think that we just try things out and if it works, we do it again. So I would say I play with plants and soil and sometimes it's successful.
Well, Hazel, we're all in that boat.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
Hazel's being modest, as the area is more than a success, it's a triumph. I mean, the street is so vibrant.
It really is. This area and this street has been through such dark times, but there are people fighting now to live in the street. There are, people writing letters with their applications when they want to rent or buy because they're desperate to be part of this community and be part of what we're creating with these gardens.
No, it's wonderful. As well as the amazing work that goes on in front of the houses, there's an incredible green space which hides behind them all in one of the alleyways. And it's all at the hands of Liz and Paul, who have lived in the area for over 20 years. Well, this is extraordinary. It's like the Amazon jungle in an alley.
It certainly is.
It's incredible. What was the starting point? Where did this all begin?
It all started that we had loads of plants in our garden. They got too big because our space is small. And I said to Paul, why don't we just put them outside? And, we asked the neighbours, said, do they mind having a pot outside the gate? And they said no. So it all started from there, and as you can see.
And it's grown. Did you imagine it to be as big as this, Paul?
Absolutely not. No. I thought it'd just be a few plants, but as the years have gone on, more and more started coming.
What was this place like originally?
Well, you know what? Rats running around. Yeah. People throwing out old mattresses and you name it, it was out here.
I bet this takes a lot of looking after.
It really does. We're out here, sometime 11 o'clock at night, isn't it? Yeah, we love it, don't we, sir?
We do.
Yeah, so we just continue to enjoy it.
So I'm guessing the plants are kind of like a polite notice to say, this area is cared for. Come out and enjoy it.
That's what we want, for people to open their back gates, come out. We've got a few chairs dotted around. If they want to come out, sit and,
down.
And that, it's all there to enjoy.
The creativity of the local residents is practically bursting out of every nook and cranny. But there is something truly magical the community helped create behind one of the doors on Cairn Street. This is Granby Winter Garden, a place where the outside comes in. And this is no ordinary terrace, I mean, evidenced by the 25-foot Himalayan birch growing out of the ground where the settee should be. The story is, when the houses here were being renovated, 2 of the homes were in worse condition than the rest. So with the help of an architect and the street's first resident gardener, they were transformed into this vaulted haven for the community. It really has the feel of a tropical farmhouse, but I'm in the middle of Toxteth, Liverpool. Everywhere I look, I can see something exciting. There's begonias, ferns, and of course the Himalayan birch towering over it all.
It's just, I just look at it and I think together we have done something that is lasting, and I wish every street could have one because it's a fantastic space. Yeah.
I really love my visit here to Granby Four Streets. It's been so eye-opening. I mean, to think this whole project started with the hard graft of planting up a derelict area. And it's not only the shrubs, the trees and flowers that have grown, so is the sense of community. And that's the thing. The flowers in our gardens, the trees on our streets have a profound and positive effect on us. Plants aren't just pretty, they're powerful.
Now, here in the wildlife garden, there was a particular brief when I set out to make it, which was obviously to encourage as much and as diverse wildlife as possible, but also to be a garden. I have this firm belief that gardens, however natural, however good for wildlife, need a gardener. They are human places where nature and man combine and work together. But there are a few key things that you have to have. So a pond, absolutely essential to encourage wildlife. Trees, even a very small garden can take small trees, but you only need one to make a big difference, because that gives birds somewhere to nest and to roost, as well as insects, of course. The other element, which is really important, are plants that will provide pollen for as wide a range of insects as possible. And I'm adding here a couple of plants that are really good for insects and butterflies in August, September, and October. Now, the first is a plant that I've never grown before at Longmeadow, but I do love it. It's called Liatris. It's not a glamorous plant. It's sort of sometimes accused of being a bit of a bottle brush, and will flower from July through into autumn without any trouble at all, particularly good for butterflies. So I'm going to place this at the front of the border. I've got 3 plants here, so I'm going to put those like that. And then the other plant is perhaps more familiar, which is a Japanese anemone. And this is September Charm, which has a pinkish colour, and the pink and the purple, I think, will combine well. They can be a little bit slow to get going, so be patient with them. Once you're happy with the position of them, it's just a question of making a hole and sticking them in. Right, end of the mix. No. There we go. That can go in there. I think it's worth pointing out that although the soil may look really easy to plant in, I did prepare this. I dug it over thoroughly, put a layer of compost on it. It's always worth doing that before you plant. Just prepare the ground. It makes planting so much easier. Right, what I will do, even though it's been wet, I will water these in. Now, not only will these look good, and therefore please the gardener, but they will also please pollinating insects.
Now, when it comes to helping birds in the garden, we received a great tip from Donna Harvey Bailey in Staffordshire.
Hi, I'm Donna and welcome to my potting shed. Today I'd like to share with you how we make these. These are little cages that we hang in our apple orchard from the trees. We stuff them full of fur and fleece and anything fluffy so that birds can come and take them away and make cosy nests for their chicks. This is what you'll need to make them. A good sharp pair of secateurs, some garden string, some prunings, mine are from my apple trees, and a piece of garden wire. And here's how we make them. We collect together our prunings from our apple trees. I've got 6 pieces here. We tie a piece of string directly into the middle. Tie it nice and tight to keep the twigs secure. Once you've done that, take them in both hands using this as your middle point and bend your twigs to make this shape. Then simply get our garden wire and wrap it up around the top. Once your wire is securely wrapped around the top of your twigs, gently pull to make the round shape. Go all the way around until you're finished like this. You can then prune the tops if any aren't the same length, if you're a perfectionist. And there we have it. Our twig cage for fluff and fleece for our garden birds.
Now, I and many other people have been encouraging us all to let the grass grow, to have as much long grass as possible, which not only looks beautiful, particularly if you plant it up with bulbs in spring, but also is one of the best things you can do to encourage wildlife. But in order to keep it going and to keep it being brilliant for wildlife and looking good, you do need to cut it. You need to subject it to what it really amounts to a haymaking regime. You let it grow, you let it flower, you let it go to seed, and then you cut it. And you keep that variety and freshness that makes it so beautiful. Now, the first thing to do before cutting is just get a stick and go through making a noise, talking, shouting, stamping, just to make sure that there are no little creatures that might be damaged by whatever you use to cut it. Okay, that's that done, and that means you too. Come on, matey, out the way. That's simple enough, but by far the most important piece of this is raking it all up. Don't worry when you cut it, and it doesn't matter what you use to cut it. You can use a scythe, you can use a machine like I did, you can use a strimmer. It's all the same effect. If you expose bare soil is good because the seeds that fall, the wildflower seeds, need to be in contact with soil in order to germinate. And remove all the material, because if it rots down, it'll feed the soil. And if it feeds the soil, the plant that will benefit most is grass. So we want to reduce the grass as much as possible. So we'll just rake this back. Having cut the path, that gives me access to the bank, which I'll do with a strimmer, and then rake it down and take it all away. And this will all compost. Management of long grass is very simple as long as you just remember the basic thing, which is to cut it at least once a year and remove everything that you cut and let it grow into winter short. You don't want long grass as the bulbs start to emerge in January and February. And then don't cut it until everything has flowered and seeded. And if you do that every year, it will look good, it will give fantastic cover for a wide range of wildlife, and it'll be fantastic for pollinators. Now, Joe has been down to Bristol to visit a project which has found almost by accident that it is supplying a wide range of organic fruit and veg for the local community.
The pleasure of growing your own can never be underestimated. Whatever the size of your plot, the satisfaction of planting something, nurturing it, and then eating it is huge. Back in 2020, at the start of the pandemic, garden centres were forced to close. But at Blaze Nursery, they were determined that thousands of fruit and veg plants wouldn't go to waste.
What are we going to do with nearly 10,000 plants? When we decided to give the vegetables away, it was at a time when people were most at need.
This generous gesture of support for the local community was so successful, it marked the beginning of a pioneering project.
The overall aim, really, of the project is to feed people and to get food on tables that is healthy, it's local, sustainably grown in communities where it may not currently be happening.
Ella Foreman from Bristol City Council joined forces with Blaze Nursery to create a food-growing network that would supply food banks in the city.
So it's just those ones, and I'll grab the others now. Rod, who runs the nursery, he reached out to myself and asked if I knew any community growing groups that could make use of the plants and be able to donate them to food banks.
3 years on, and that idea has become a huge success.
The peas are looking good, and the chard. It's all looking pretty good, isn't it?
Now, each May, the nursery is at the heart of the operation as plug plants are delivered to projects who need it most.
We need healthy food, don't we, to be healthy. So to be able to provide fresh vegetables, it's brilliant, and long may it continue.
The plug plants from the nursery are delivered right across Bristol to allotments and community groups who grow them on ready for harvest. The amount of work and people involved is incredible.
Lovely jubbly, thanks.
Well, after months of growing on in the rain and sunshine, I've come to Golden Hill Allotments and Community Garden to meet the people behind the project and help harvest whatever's ready. Well, what a fantastic site this is. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's just one of many, isn't it, that support the group. And how many groups are supported by the project?
So we support almost 60 groups around the city, and that's ranging from everything like you can see here today, so the allotments that are run by the local community, to private growing spaces, and also schools that are growing within their grounds as well.
Right, and for you, why is it so important?
It means that we're giving people that might not have access to the fresh fruit and vegetables that are provided by people that are growing through the project. It means that they've got access to these locally produced and harvested vegetables. They can learn about growing, learn about where their food comes from, and it's all grown within the city, peat-free, and supports healthy eating as well.
I've got to eat the produce just to check it's all right. Ooh, that's good, peppery, really good. Food miles don't get much shorter than this. A short push of this barrowful will bring you to the Ardagh Community Trust. Oh, wow, it's amazing. On the site of an old tennis court where growing food is the name of the game, volunteers help Family Food Action sort the much-needed harvest. Oh, you must be Alison.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Well, I'm just a delivery man. I have not grown a thing.
It looks fantastic.
There's a hive of activity here. There's people doing stuff everywhere. How often does this happen?
We do it once a week on Tuesdays. People collect on the Monday nights, Tuesday mornings, and then everything's brought up here. We distribute the food on Tuesday lunchtimes. Some people have got the food on their plates that night.
How many people are you helping?
About 1,500 people a week.
And with the cost of living as it is, people are really reliant on you.
They are.
Anyone who's got an allotment knows that you'll end up with a huge amount of produce at times of the year and don't know what to do with it, so this is the perfect solution.
It is. So we've had gluts of rhubarb, we've had gluts of runner beans, so it's fantastic. It's all coming from the local community and being distributed out to the local community.
This project feels really like a win-win, but it's not just families who benefit. Volunteer gardeners led by Steve Galpin also reap the rewards of growing. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Joe.
Doing a bit of harvesting there.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not just about the produce, though, is it, Steve? I mean, gardening has so many other benefits.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the mental health aspect of it is really important and valuable these days. And we've been involved in social prescribing schemes where GPs can directly refer patients on to us, prescribe gardening for mental health problems, which is just an amazing project.
Yeah, so they come here, and have you seen the transformation in people?
Absolutely, yeah. It's almost instant sometimes. It's just incredible to see
Wow.
that kind of that thing go on, really. It's, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. "10 minutes up the road is my final stop. At the Venge After School Cooking and Growing Club, Megan teaches kids the importance of eating what we grow. Oh, you must be Meg.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Good.
I've brought some local produce for
Oh, thank you. It looks beautiful.
you. Yeah, well, it's nice to know what happens to it. It ends up here,
Mhm.
and what happens to it next?
Well, try and get it in some bellies. Feed the hungry children. And yeah, trying to educate them and their families a little bit as well. So
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of food fear, not knowing where food comes from, how to cook it, how to process it. It connects you to each other, it connects you to your local environment, connects you to the ground under your feet. And if you get a good connection and relationship with food from a young age, your life's going to be a lot better.
You eat?
So what are you making?
Kale chips.
Ah, they taste good?
Yeah.
So how long do you cook them for?
I don't actually know.
It depends how many
How do you
kale
know, how
chips
do you
it
know
will
when
be.
they're done then?
When they're crispy.
Okay, until they're crispy. Yeah, that makes sense.
Does everyone like kale chips?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a really uplifting day. Growing edibles is not just about getting them from plot to plate, but it involves a lot more than that, and it brings communities together in a fascinating network. Kale chips, anybody?
Would you like one?
Thank you. Me.
Get in the queue, I've got to get in the queue.
I'm gonna tell you what.
There's diversity involved, there's sustainability, it's about biodiversity, and it's about mental health too. Hey! Gardening is really powerful.
Clearly, that's an inspirational scheme, and I love the way that it's grown out of what was a pretty catastrophic situation for so many people, and yet has come good.
Now, it was back in 2020 when we first met three sisters from the southwest.
Hi, my name is Mandy.
My name is Kirsty. I'm head gardener. My name is Rebecca. I live in Morgan Jackson.
And we live in Poole in Dorset. Welcome to our garden.
Ta-da!
They had discovered a new love of gardening and were supported in their efforts by their many followers on social media.
We're making sweet corn and pumpkin. And now, it's growing money.
On your bike.
Though they started with relatively little knowledge,
Asta.
Asta like shop.
Not Asda, Asta.
gardening soon became an all-consuming passion.
Wavy, wavy.
Although watering sometimes took a back seat when Becky wanted to practice her dance moves.
Is that moonwalk?
Yeah.
Shall we create Rebecca a nice little fairy garden?
Yeah, please.
Shall we do that and surprise her?
Yeah.
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Woohoo!
No peeping, Becky.
No pee-pee, Becky.
Come and see what Kirsty's made you.
Surprise, darling. So what do you think? She likes it. I love you. Yeah, I love you too.
Job well done.
And your feedback.
Sadly, Becky died in October last year. So it's with great fondness that we remember Becky and her love for gardening, and we shall cherish those moments that she shared with us all. Well, that's it for today, but I'll see you back here at Longmeadow next time. So until then, bye-bye.